it's the way that we practice surrender. It's the way that we practice engaging with powerlessness, engaging with release, because we don't have control over everything and we don't get to have all of the answers. But if we cooperate with hope and faith, we can keep walking those steps, and we can keep seeing the breadcrumbs and taking the paths and trusting. And it's such to have the practice. I was somebody, like I said, I was codependent. I struggled with control, and I wanted to control everything. And I thought if I did this, I could control these factors. And if I did that, I could control these factors. But, we don't have control over everything. And we need to practice the surrender and be able to give that up a little bit.
Join me, 'cause I'm seeking sunshine, 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 I'm seeking sunshine.
Welcome to Seeking Sunshine, Do What Lights You Up, a podcast for passionate, creative moms who are ready to live their best life and be their full, lit-up selves while being amazing moms, because it's possible to be both. It turns out that you don't have to lose yourself in motherhood, and I'm here to show you how. This is Seeking Sunshine 2.0 because we are no longer focusing on the problems, but on the solutions. It's your turn to shine. Well, if it isn't you coming back for another episode of the Seeking Sunshine podcast. I'm so happy you're here, and I am thrilled to tell you about another amazing episode. I almost called this episode Become a Mindset Ninja instead of a Mindset Master. And so I have a really funny joke I want to tell you today, which might have to do with how late I'm recording this intro. But that's all right. And I just sent this to my sister because we're both redheads, and anyways, it's really funny. It's a little meme I found, and it says, should a redheaded ninja be referred to as a ginger? Laugh with me, please. Laugh. So much laughter. If I had little canned laughter here, that would be the place for it. I am recording this very late Tuesday night because it's been quite the whirlwind of a weekend. My boys had a very long break from school for Martin Luther King Jr. weekend. I don't know, they had Friday off, and then they had Monday off, and they had Tuesday off. For some reason, they also had a teacher in service. And that made for a very, very long weekend. Although actually Tuesday was lovely because I got to go to Toastmasters and give a speech about how much I love podcasting, which is pretty much top of the game for me. That's about my favorite thing ever to do in the history of ever, is to go give a speech about my favorite topic of all time. And it went great, and I love it, and it's my favorite. I think that's my number one favorite thing to do. Podcasting, my favorite. Speaking about podcasting, it doesn't get any better than that. But this weekend, Sunday, I got hit with another illness, which was crazy because, I swear to you, all year last year, I barely got sick. And then we had, if you've been following me at all, you know that, our Christmas break, we got this illness. It was a respiratory illness we got. I couldn't talk for a week and a half, and it really knocked us, off of our feet. And then on Sunday, I got a stomach bug, which my son had actually had a few days before that, and my daughter and I both got it on Sunday, and we were puking and just so sick the entire day, and it was so brutal. And now it looks like my husband's getting it. And I'm just praying that maybe he doesn't get it as bad as I did, because when I'm really sick, I just sleep like the whole day. Like when I'm really, really sick. If I'm only kind of sick, I just like power through it. Like the mom version of sick, where I just kind of keep going and pretend like I'm not really sick. But this, when I'm like really, really, really sick, I just sleep through the whole thing. But my husband does not. His is the dad version of sick. Let's just leave it at that. So anyway, today's episode's amazing, but before I dive into it, I wanted to tell you again about Magic Mind, which I adore. And actually, I ran out of it, and I was so sad, which I barely noticed, on Sunday and even Monday, because I was so sick. But thankfully, I was able to go to my show notes and use this amazing link, which is magicmind.com/JanSeekings, and order myself some more. It's actually really, really easy. You click on the link and then you use my special code, which is Seekings20, and then you get this really amazing discount, and then you get it shipped right to your door, and it's so good. I'm really excited to get it restocked because I miss that flavor. It tastes so good, and it really is such a boost. And I've been thinking about it, and I'm like, I really need that creative boost back in my life. I've got all these projects coming up, and I'm like, that's what I need. I need more of that. I've been trying to get the house in order. I know it's not quite time for spring cleaning and all that yet, but when you come home from a Christmas vacation and you get sick, the house sort of crumbles and falls apart. So I've been like, I need to get on top of the house, and I need to get on top of all my projects, and I'm like, I need more Magic Mind. I need more of the brain power it brings, because it really does. It really helps a ton. So go check out that link in the show notes, because that's exactly the link I used to get a really amazing discount. You get a month free when you subscribe. It's super good. So today's interview is so good. I've got Joscelyn Kate, and she's amazing. This is such a great episode. Today we're going to talk about living your best life, pursuing what you actually love to do, and how we can't control what others think, and then of course the importance of mindset. Joscelyn is a Master Mindfulness Practitioner, which is going to become really clear as we get into this. She's also a trauma-informed yoga instructor, a certified ritual guide, a wife, and a mom to 4 kids ages 7 and under. She helps women reconnect with hope and faith in a grounded way through practical spiritual wellness practices, and she is really, really amazing. This is such a deep episode where we talk about her story and how she's doing everything that she loves as a busy mom. And with 4 under 7, holy cow, she's got so much to do, but she's so amazing. She just had a really great summit, and she's just rocking it. She's top notch. So I'm really excited to introduce you to Joscelyn. Hi, Joscelyn. I'm so excited to have you today on the Seeking Sunshine podcast.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. So let's dive in. I want to hear all about you and what lights you up and motherhood, and let's just talk.
Yeah, so I am a mom of 4. So I have 4 kids, and I wasn't somebody that was originally I'm going to be a mom when I grow up and I can't wait to have a family. I was actually going to I wanted to become a lawyer, and I was in school, and when I met my husband, I was that kind of shifted my kind of whole world, where I was then oh, maybe I do want to be married and have a family and all that. And so it was not my original path, but I kind of started going that way, and then I got off of the path of wanting to be a lawyer and work in the corporate world, and I was initially trying to merge the two, where I was being a mom and going to school and working as an insurance adjuster, and had like a nervous breakdown. I was like, this is too much. I don't like it. I
That's a
don't want to
lot.
do it. It was so much. And so I stopped going to school. I left my corporate job, and then I started freelance writing because I was earning 2/3 of the family income at the time. And so it was like a big transition for us. But I started freelance writing because writing was really like my outlet. It was so funny because when I got pregnant with my first, I joined the What to Expect app to track the pregnancy. And they have a community section in the app. And I had never participated in like Facebook or anything prior to this app. And I was pregnant in 2015. She was born in 2016. So I was like so late on like the social media train. And but when you're like new to motherhood and everything, you really do need that kind of like community around
Yeah.
you.
Hmm.
And so I had found that community section on the What to Expect app, and I joined the community section, and there was different areas of the community that you could participate in, and one of them was hot topics, and that was where a lot of people would debate different like motherhood things,
Yeah.
political things, religious things, everything. And so in hot topics I would debate so often, and I would just participate there because I just felt so connected, and it was all moms, and it was all moms who just had babies, so it was like we were really all in the same place in life, but we're also kind of passionately talking about, things that matter in the world. And somebody had said to me that they really loved my writing style, and they really thought that I was, articulate. And so her and I ended up exchanging email addresses, and she taught me how to start freelance writing. And so she hooked me up with Upwork. She hooked me up with my first client. And so I was writing while I was on maternity leave with my first. I started my first blog. I was started freelance writing. And then as I'm working and, doing this as a passion, but I'm like working, I'm in school, I have the new baby. I'm like, I want to like switch to just writing. Like that was my favorite thing to do. And so she taught me how to like kind of scale it and make more money. And so I kind of like was brought into this other sort of writing community where I was able to switch. And so it took me until I was pregnant with my second. But when I was pregnant with my second and I was on maternity leave, I was able to leave my corporate job and just write full time. And then my husband started his own business. So that kind of took the pressure off of me. So I was able to do more creative things, which is where, obviously led me to where I am now. But
Amazing.
yeah, but what was started it all was just, diving into that freelance writing, into just getting into that like online world, and, connecting with people who do entrepreneurial things and who do creative things. That was like really what brought me out.
I love how it's just how the internet just like brings us all together, because I felt like that
Easy.
with my story too. And we have felt that with like COVID, who like drove all of us to the
Yes.
internet even more than ever,
Right.
where it's like in our own circles, in our own bubbles, like it's kind of hard to find people who are in our similar situations. But
Yes,
then
and
we,
like align with the way that we're trying to do stuff, because people
yeah,
look at me freelance writing in my small circle around me and they're like, you're gonna make a living off of that, you're gonna support kids doing that. But when I connect with other creatives, they're like, oh yeah, I do too. I've been doing it for 5 years.
yes, I totally feel that. And no, I just love it. So keep going.
Yeah. And so I became a freelance writer. So that's what I did for a while, but it was hard because it wasn't like my passion. Like I like writing, but I was writing for other companies. I was writing for digital marketing agencies. I was doing a lot of tech writing and finance writing. And that's of course where the money was. That's where my background was from school and working.
Yeah.
But it's not what I was like really passionate about. It wasn't what I was into. I wasn't waking up every day like can't wait to write that finance article. So, it was like it starts to weigh on you the same way a W-2 job weighs on you. And that was like a misperception. I think so many people would say how much freedom, like, oh, how nice it is for you that you get to do it that way. And I had that same misperception when I was, working in the insurance and wanting to switch, I had the same misperception that there would be more freedom and it would be easier. But the pressures are just different. The expectations are just different. The safety nets are so different. You don't have sick time, you don't have vacation time. And it's also like you don't always have the budget to do marketing, things like that. So there's a lot of elements to keeping the train rolling when you're doing it by yourself. And that started to wear on me. So let's see, I think I was pregnant with my third. I was pregnant with my third, and that was when I started my podcast. And that was like, I loved writing, but it's hard when you have two kids and your mom and, you work. And I was having a hard time like sitting down and writing, and I was trying to do a lot on my phone. And one night, and it's so funny because it's like my husband and I, whenever we get into an argument, we will do sort of a team back and review why we got into a fight. So one night we're
Which
like,
that's gotta be so good, I have to say. I'm like, I bet
mean,
that is like such a
it's
quality
helpful.
way to fight, because I
And it's
love
like,
that tactic.
because being married, you get in the same arguments like over and over so many times, like it helps to review it. So we've been through couples counseling, we've been through individual therapy, like, we've done it all. We've been together for 18 years. And so anyway, we were one night going through why we got into our argument, what was going on. And I was telling him, how I was feeling and what was going on for me. And he was just like, you should start a podcast. Like, he was like,
Yes.
you are so passionate. He's like, you are just like everything you're saying. Like, I know, he's like, I understand what you're saying. I hear you. Like, I know our argument, whatever, but he's like, you are so like smart about what you're talking about. And like he's like, people are so into podcasts right now. Like, you should do it. And I was like, always scared to speak. Like, I was somebody that was always scared to speak out loud. I hated giving class presentations. I hated like, I never wanted to be on camera or anything. I'm not like a picture person. And so the idea of like getting in front of a microphone, like, I'll be honest, the first time I'm in my basement, I'm like, nothing's happening. I'm recording myself on my phone in my basement, and I'm literally shaking, like so scared to be recording my first episode. I was like, I mulled over it for like a month after he said it. And I was like, a podcast, huh? And I'm thinking like, well, I could turn some of my articles into episodes. Like, I already have content and I could maybe just do it that way. And so I'm like sitting down in my basement by myself, nobody's home, and I am shaking. But I knew, I was like, that is where I'm like the most excited. That's like how I love sharing, because
I
I'm a
love
storyteller,
it.
Yeah, like I'm just a
Yes. Telling
storyteller. So
stories is so powerful. And then when you could feel it, you can just tell. Like, you can just feel like where you're feeling lit up. And then it takes time. Like, we don't appreciate how much time it takes to like regulate our nervous system and allow ourselves to feel safe in a new thing.
oh my
Like,
God, yeah.
it takes time. And like, so when you're like, oh, this is so scary, it's like, yeah. And we have to just like be okay with it being scary at first and let it take the time. Like, it's such a terrible kind of analogy, but like the pot with the boiling water and the frog, like, you have to let it
Yes.
slowly change and let yourself get more and more and more comfortable with the new thing, and you'll get there. It's just
Right. And
gonna
be
take,
willing to do it scared, because that's,
yeah, how
you
you
know,
increase your confidence is by doing
exactly.
it.
And that's really what happens is when you are approaching something that is amazing, and when you're approaching something that's completely out of your comfort zone and completely brand new, you are going to feel the fight or flight. You are going to get the adrenaline. And if you let that deter you and send you in the other direction, you're not going to keep walking the road, of the great thing of what you're going to actually achieve.
You're not
And
going to grow. Growth is scary. Growth is
it's scary.
stretching. When you
Yes.
grow, you're literally stretching.
Right.
And if you pay attention, you can feel it. It's not comfortable.
You
growth.
have to be willing to be uncomfortable, like be
Yeah.
uncomfortable, because that's what it's going to take.
Mm-hmm.
And I it's so funny because I listened back to those first few episodes and I'm like, oh my God, I sounded nervous. I sounded so nervous. And I was thinking after I joined Kathy's program, like to learn podcasting and because I had I think 14 episodes out before I joined her program. But I was struggling a lot with perfectionism, a lot with codependency, all the things that she talked about. And I thought, do I scratch all those first 14 episodes? Do I get rid of them and start over? Because now, I have a handle on my voice. I have a handle on getting on camera and speaking, and I know what I want to say. But I decided as I was like going through doing my season 2, I want to keep it up. I'm going to keep all those first episodes up because I want people to be able to witness my own transformation, and what happened. Like,
Yes.
because
Well,
you
and
start and it's so hard.
I'm so passionate about this. Like I like podcasting. I mean, because I've by the time this airs, I will have already launched I'm launching a second podcast called Podcast Like a Mother to teach people how to
Oh
podcast because
yes, I did
I
see. Yeah.
adore podcasting that much. And as I look at my podcast, I'm like, I don't even know this. This will be over 100 episodes by the time this one airs. And it's like, I have been too scared to go back and look at my first episodes. I have not yet looked at them because I'm like,
Oh,
cringe. Like, I have not.
it's
But
wicked cringe. It was so cringe for
yeah,
me.
so cringy. It's such a journey that we go on. But as I look
Yeah.
back in it, I'm like, this is such a legacy that
Yes,
I have left for my kids.
exactly.
Like they can, like they're not
Yeah.
interested right now, let's be honest.
No,
Like
right.
they're not interested now, but someday they're going to be able to go back and look at this journey that
Right.
I took, how I grew so much over these years of podcasting and how I went from somebody who knew nothing, who, maybe didn't speak so well and who didn't, wasn't
Right.
confident and didn't know how to tell a story nearly as well as I do now, and
Right.
who stepped forward and had courage and kept going anyway. And
Yeah.
who, I didn't interview people nearly as well at the beginning as I do now.
Yeah.
And like to watch that growth journey and to hear it, to me, podcasting is like it's like an audio journal. And it's
Exactly.
so powerful to be able to leave that for our kids
Right.
to witness our growth journey as their mom.
Yeah, and
I
it's
love
so
it.
and for them to be able to, and this is something that as a parent is so important to me, is to demonstrate to my kids my humanity so that they feel
Yeah.
comfortable in their own. And so if
Yes.
they see me being brand new and entering into something and not being perfect at it and messing up and sounding nervous and my voice shaking, and then they hear me a year later and 2 years later and 3 years later and I'm killing it and then my stats are up and like, when they witness that humanity, they can say, oh, my own growth is okay. My own growth is safe. And, I love that's like exactly how you say an audio journal. I love that everything I've done is the witness of my growth so that they know that their own growth is good too.
Yes. We just give other people permission. And
Yeah.
the most important people we can do that for and, be an example for is our own kids.
Right. Because we're their guides. We're meant to guide them. And of course we can guide other people. Like, you and I, we do the podcasting and we do, coaching and things like that and guide people in different ways. But like we were chosen, to guide our children. And that's like
Yes.
those are the ones who like we prioritize guiding,
Yeah.
and for me, like the most important thing to give them, and it's like, my own emotional healing journey was so much around being okay with myself, being okay with myself having feelings and having needs and, mattering. And I want to demonstrate that for them so that they don't ever feel like, you know, those sort of, it was the codependency and the perfectionism and the people pleasing. I struggled with so much of that. And it's because I didn't think it was okay for me to just be me and just, you know, have my thoughts, have my opinions, let people be mad at me, let people not like me. I just didn't know how to do that. And so I want my kids to, especially my kids, to be okay with it. But I also know that there are other people like me, my age, millennials, who also need that same exact message. They need to hear that, like, it's okay to focus on yourself. It's okay to have feelings. It's okay to set boundaries. It's okay to say no to people. And my husband and I, we struggled with boundaries. Like I said, we've been together for 18 years, and we both came from families where boundaries was not like a, well taught thing. And
Right.
we didn't really have very healthy examples of, strong personal growth. And so it's just something that I want to do that for my kids, but I want to do it for myself, because I need that example myself. But I also want to help other people. It gives me so much passion, and that's what, my whole journey. And it's so funny that I started freelance writing, because through freelance writing, working for digital marketing agencies, learning copywriting, learning different like content management systems, customer management systems, learning about landing pages, all this stuff, it is what really gave me the foundation for me to successfully launch my website and to successfully grow my traffic and social media followings and launch a podcast. And, the ways that I know how to edit things and do stuff, is it all started with like that journey of branching away from the corporate job, going into the writing, not knowing where it was going to take me. Of course, I have absolutely no idea where freelance writing was going to take me, but letting myself just take it like one step at a time and just keep being like, I don't know why I'm learning about Pinterest, but I am. And now with my website traffic at, 7,000 views a month, that is of course why I use Pinterest, because it's a massive driver of traffic, and that's where I get a lot of ad revenue. And it was so windy. It was such a windy road, but I'm so grateful for everything that I did through that writing journey, because that is exactly what led me to now doing what I do, which is mindfulness coaching.
Oh, I love it. I love how we can look back on our stories and we can be like, I was led here. I was led here, and it was a crazy journey, but I
Yes,
can just see how all the pieces were perfectly put into place. And then
exactly.
when we can take that perspective, when we look at our future and we're like, I don't see the path yet. I don't
Right.
see how this leads right to what my goal is yet. And
And
maybe
that's
my goal,
scary.
yeah, it's so scary. And it's like,
Yeah.
I don't
But
know
you can
how
keep looking back and
yeah,
say, every time it's taken me to the right place. Like, that's so
yeah,
hard to do that hope and faith thing. It's so hard to put that trust out there. And I talk so much about that in my own wellness program. I talk about the importance of a spiritual practice. And,
yes,
I tell people it doesn't matter what, like, I don't specifically encourage anyone, but I think everybody needs to have something, whether you are
yes,
Christian or Buddhist, or even if it's astrology, do something that is a spiritual practice that is the complete foundation of all of our wellness practices, because it is it's the way that we practice surrender. It's the way that we practice engaging with powerlessness, engaging with release, because we don't have control over everything and we don't get to have all of the answers. But if we cooperate with hope and faith, we can keep walking those steps, and we can keep seeing the breadcrumbs and taking the paths and trusting. And, it's such to have the practice. Like, I was somebody, like I said, I was codependent. I struggled with control, and I wanted to control everything. And I thought, if I did this, I could control these factors. And if I did that, I could control these factors. But, we don't have control over everything. And we need to practice the surrender and be able to give that up
mm,
a little bit.
yes. And when we practice trusting in that higher power, oh my gosh, it changes everything. It'll blow your mind and change your whole life because
Yes.
oh, it's mind blowing to realize that we don't see the whole picture. We tend to get really focused on what's happening right now and it's going wrong and it's not going the way I want it to. But if we could imagine how beautiful the whole story is going to be, we just can't see the next chapter yet.
Yes.
It hasn't been revealed to us yet. But if we
Right.
can just wait, it's
And
so
that's like, we want
juicy.
that control. We want to say, I want it revealed to me so that I can relax in the now. But it's like, no, 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 because it's
You
going to be better than whatever you could imagine right now.
so
Just
choose to
let it be.
relax. Choose to relax in the now. Choose to
Use
just
it.
trust that it's all gonna turn out. And that's so hard. Like,
Right, right.
you can make that choice. You can just choose to feel safe now
Mm-hmm.
and not choose to freak out and stress out and having so much anxiety. And yeah, I
Right.
get that sometimes it's not always so much of a choice, but to the extent that you are capable and that you can allow,
And it's
like,
about the practice, because that's
yeah,
right. That's right. Is that our feelings are gonna overwhelm us sometimes. And the things that we can't control are gonna overwhelm us sometimes. But if you have a consistent practice, that's where that spiritual practice comes in. If you have a consistent practice of understanding surrender and understanding powerlessness, when you need it, you're going to be like, okay, I kind of know this, I kind of
yeah,
understand this, and it gets easier, it gets easier to work with it. But we also have to have that realization that, the better it gets and the more we're given, the harder it is to practice faith, because we get given so much, that we value, and we recognize how much we value, that it's like you fear losing it, you fear doing
mm-hmm,
wrong with it, you fear, and it is just always like just letting it flow. And that's like, as a mindfulness practitioner, I tell people, like, collapse time and space. And this can be scary to think you're going to be gone someday, but it's true, you will be. And if you collapse time and space and you think that, you did not exist before you were born, you existed, gone, like, allow yourself to be still and just observe that, and pull yourself out of those moments of awareness where you're panicking and having anxiety over what do I get to
mm,
control. And we never get to choose how our life is going to turn out, of course, but there's so many factors that we get to influence. There's so many things that we can engage in that allow us to, like, they're levers of control that we can influence in our lives. And if we, like, show gratitude for that, that feels powerful. Like, that's where we can rest
yes.
in and we can balance. I'm powerless in that regard, but I'm super powerful in this one.
We have so much power over our perspective. It's amazing. And I love, Kathy has said this a few times, but Kathy Heller, she says, you grow at the speed of safety.
Yes. Oh my
And
goodness.
it's like,
Yeah.
that's one of the ones that it's like, oh,
Mhm.
and to allow yourself to feel safe when you're like, I want to panic. I really want
Yeah.
to panic. Everything is going wrong. I really want to panic. I don't see how this is going to work out, because I do that a lot. And something will trigger like my panic response where I'm like,
Yeah.
I saw the number in my bank, or I saw my
Right.
son's behavior, or I saw something that triggered my panic response. And I'm
Yep.
like, my brain goes berserk of imagining worst case scenarios. And
I
I'm like,
do.
that's triggering my panic response. And I'm like, uh-oh,
It's
wait a minute.
hard.
Yeah. And then it's like, oh, I know better, because I've been learning this stuff. So the answer here is that, like, you get to choose to feel safe no matter what's happening around you. And it's super hard, but
Yeah.
you can go do a meditation and you can calm your nervous system down. There are so many tools, and you've been like spouting gold over here, like
Yeah. Oh, that's
showing
so
us all
funny
the
that you
things.
say that.
It's official. Podcast Like a Mother is here. This is my podcast coaching program where I lead you one-to-one through the entire process of building your own podcast. I will guide you every single step of the way as you figure out what topic you want to talk about, what lights you up, and how to do the entire process beginning to end. I'm going to show you every single thing that I know, and it's going to be amazing. I'm going to show you how to make podcasting fun and easy and sustainable. If you want to schedule a breakthrough call with me to see if this is the right next step for you, check out the link in the show notes.
I have to tell you the story because it's so funny. And so many people are like, when I tell this story, but it's about Amanda Knox. Do you know Amanda Knox? And she was in Italy and she was accused
I recognize that name.
Okay, so it's like a story where she was like accused of murdering her roommate, and so this person, Amanda Knox, she's an American. She was in college. She was in an exchange program, and she was accused of murdering her roommate while she was in Italy. So she went through an entire trial. She went to prison in Italy, and then she went through an appeal and was acquitted. And she came back to the U.S. and so many people, there's like, of course, there are people who believe that she definitely 100% did it. And then there are people who say, no, she 100% did not do it. And then there are people like, I don't know all the information. And there's Facebook groups, and there is social media posts, and there is documentaries on the History Channel about this girl. And and she's like a real human, and she wrote a post on Twitter like a couple years ago. And she was like, there was this point where I was sitting in prison and I realized this is my life. Like, I'm not on an alternative path. I'm not on an accidental road. I'm sitting in my life. I'm sitting in the middle of my life, and this is my life. And this is my life. And, I am in prison and people think this about me. And she said that she had this completely like emotional evolution where she just accepted that she was in prison and that's where she was. So she was going to make a routine out of it. She was going to take care of herself. She was going to take care of her mind. And she just surrendered to the fact that she was stuck in prison without, even though she said, she knew she didn't do this crime. She's stuck in prison and she just surrendered to it. And she said she was talking to her mom on the phone one day, and her mom thought that she like had lost it. Like her mom was like worried about her, thought that she was like not wanting to live anymore. And she's like, no, that's completely the opposite, is that I've completely embraced how I'm living, and this is how I live, and I don't get to control it, and I can cooperate in it, but I'm not the main number one controller of it all. And obviously, like I said, she went through the process. She was acquitted and came back to the US, but she still lives this life where people know her name, and she didn't get swallowed up by the earth. She still has to go grocery shopping. She still has to get a job. She still has to, pay her bills and have relationships and neighbors. And, you can let everybody's perspective about you steer your ship. She could have tried to, live in a cave and change her name and whatever, but she didn't. She said, this is who I am and this is my life, and I can't control what people say or think about me, but I'm just going to keep living my own life and I'm going to accept it. And, I think about that when I'm struggling, when I've had somebody say something negative to me on social media. I'm like, well, it's not like a Facebook group of 30,000 people who think that I'm like a monster, and that's the reality that she lives, that she can't control what everybody thinks. She can't control what has happened to her, but what she can control, she sinks so far into, and that's where she finds her peace, and that's how she keeps going. And I think, like, I am one of the people who, I don't know, I watched the documentary on her. I'm not sure what I think about it, but that's an incredible lesson, that she still has to walk every day being who she is, and she cannot let their opinions steer her ship.
That's amazing. And there are so many people who have like what a relatable story. There's so many people who have, not
bad histories,
not similar stories, but like stories that have the same outcomes. I'm thinking of the one girl who got kidnapped, and I'm thinking of all sorts of people who have these terrible things that happen to them and affect them for the rest of their lives. And I think
Yes.
about my story and how I've at times let that take over my life and how
Right.
I've shown up. And it's like, that is such a relatable story
Right.
because we let the circumstances of our lives control how we show up so often.
Too
The
much.
things that we can't control, the circumstances that were handed to us,
Hmm.
and we don't realize the power that we have to show up anyway.
Yes.
And
And
the
it's the mindset. It's the
yeah,
mindset. Because like, could you of course say, I'm in prison, I can't be happy. Yeah, you can. But that's not what she chose. And, I think that's something that I did a lot. And it was especially with my yoga practice. It was a lot of like, I need the space, I need the quiet, I need, the right yoga pants, I need the right yoga mat. And it was never really about that. I just needed the mindset. I needed the mindset shift, and I needed to want to do it. And as soon as I wanted to do it, I was doing it anywhere, doing it in my dining room. I was doing it with the kids crawling on me. Once you settle into that it is a mindset thing, that's where you can change anything, make
yeah.
anything happen. It's always mindset first.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So tell us more about your mindfulness coaching practice and how you're doing all these things with little kids
Oh,
because
yeah.
I mean, that's one area of my life. Okay, that's probably the area of my life where I was like, well, I'm a mom. I've got 3 kids with special
Right.
needs. Like, I can't anymore. Like, all those dreams I had, nope, out the window, can't do it. And it was like, I had to change that mindset and figure out how to be an amazing mom and do the things I love, which is what like this whole episode, like this whole podcast is about. And I'm like, how do we do the things that light us up and be
Yeah.
moms that are doing our very best to be amazing moms? Like, how do we do
Yeah.
both of those things? How do we step into our full power and be our best selves in all
Right.
the areas of our lives?
Right. And it takes that balance and that intentionality. And I have a lot of practices, and I paused my direct coaching because I was creating a course, and I'm launching the course in January. But the course is basically all of that, tucked into one package. And it was all of the practices that I use to create my routines, to create my rituals, and to help myself stay on track so that I am not neglecting, because that's what it comes down to for me, is that I engage in like self-neglect, or I'll engage in neglecting my business, or I'll engage in neglecting my relationships. And it's never my kids, because that's always like the thing that comes at you. And it's, when the kids are young, that's like, it's just like always in your face. And I'm a stay-at-home mom. So that's like the first thing that gets done is always the kids. But that means that I have to really be intentional about the next thing that gets done and the next thing that gets done, because it's always a shuffle. It's always like moving that stuff around. So for these last few months of this year, that was what I decided to shuffle around. Was I said, I want to work on this course. I want to launch the course. I want to do the summit. And I want to really move a lot of my processes into like, automated access for people, so that I'm not having, because this is really the thing. It's having the kids around when they're young and they're napping. It's easy for me to break in time and talk with people and do interviews and stuff like that. But as they get older and they have dance and, sports and all these other things, I want to be more present. So I'm trying to automate more of my coaching kind of
Yeah.
processes.
Yeah.
So and it's, like I said, with my freelancing, there's so much from 2015 until now that I absorbed through freelancing. And it was because I had worked with different digital marketing agencies, I had worked with different small businesses, and there was just so much information that I learned, that I was able to create, my email list, grow my email list, create the course, and create all the marketing materials and all that. And so I recognize that like my journey, everything brought me here to like doing this kind of process. So my hope is that I will have small groups of coaching that I can do when my kids are in school. And then the automated kind of course that I've already put together, that took me 4 or 5 months, I think, to do. And then I will have more family time while my kids are young, because, I look at the segments of their lives, and it's so important to be mindful of the impermanence. They're not going to be toddlers forever. They're not going to be in elementary school, in high school forever. And those are going to all be different segments of my life. So I want to fit my business into, what they're doing. And something that my husband and I focus on a lot is cultivating healthy relationships with our kids, because our parents didn't really focus on that. And
I love
I think,
that.
yeah, a lot of millennials, I think, suffered because parents didn't focus on building relationships with them. A lot of things were like, what you're supposed to do, what you should do, and just not super healthy relationship building practices. And so my husband and I, like I said, we've been through therapy and we've been through couples counseling and everything. We have the goal of building healthy relationships so that when our children are adults, they still like us, and they can, you know, they can not need to make excuses for any of our behavior. Like we want them to truly understand that certain, disciplines that we use, the choices that we make, things that, like, we want them to be able to judge as an adult those same behaviors and be at peace with them. So we work hard to prioritize relationship building in the family. And that, like, as you ask, how do you get it all done? It is so important to have the support. And I would never take for granted. My husband is like my number one. He's my best friend. He is my number one supporter. But, we've been together for 18 years, and he started off as a good friend, and he was always the one that was like there for me through my parents' divorce. And, we moved in together when we were very young because I was just not in a good place. And just through everything we've worked through over the years, like, he's just always been my biggest supporter. And learning to clearly identify your own needs, communicate them with your support people, identify healthy support people, like, that is such a big piece of making anything work in your life. And, I don't know if I think it's a little bit of luck to find the right support people, but I think it's a lot of bit of speaking up. And I think that some people will say,
I
it's
love
hard to
that.
find the right relationships, but I think it's really speaking up early and speaking up often, because when you say who you are and what you need, that's when you can align with people, that
Well,
understand and agree.
and that's when they can show up in the right way, because
Yeah.
none of us are mind readers.
Right. Number
Like,
one,
your spouse is
exactly.
not a mind reader, your in-laws are not mind readers. The people who love you, who want to support you, they can't read your mind. So
And
if
most people are
you,
well-meaning, and that's what we want to
yeah.
remember.
So if you don't start, you know, clearly defining, like, I need support in this clear way, people can't give it, when there are a lot of people who actually would like to give it, because people have such big hearts and they want to give. But
And we can't
yeah.
control where it comes from. So I think that's something, like, that I had worked through in therapy, was it super early on, was, like I said, working with that powerlessness and the powerfulness. We cannot control who our biggest support person is. Am I lucky that my husband's my biggest support person? Absolutely. That's not going to be everybody's case. That doesn't mean don't go out and find one. Like if your husband's not your biggest support person, and they don't have the capacity to be, there's a million things I could say about that, but best case scenario, maybe it's just not their year, and you need to give them a year to level out so that they can be their best next year. But in the meantime, be open to expanding your care community, and let yourself be supported by who has the capacity, because we can't control that, and we so often want to. We want to say, my mom should this, my sister should this, my husband should this, but we don't need to should them or ourselves. We can just say, I need who has the capacity.
I love that. That is beautiful. That's really beautiful.
Thanks.
And it changes, and it evolves, and then we also support who we are able to support in return to
Because
the,
you don't always have I don't always have the, like, we're
yeah.
not, I can't be 100% the support person to somebody every single time. Like, I need my husband to have somebody else he can talk to about stuff.
Yeah.
He needs me to have somebody else I can talk to about stuff. And it's just unreasonable to expect one person to be 100% for you. So I'm
Yeah.
not going to expect that of myself.
And you have to pay attention to your energy. And like, if you see somebody who's trying to rely on you as a support person and you're like, "Ugh, they're draining me. Like, I just can't." Like, you have to speak up and like help them find someone who's more equipped than you in the
And
moment.
that was my struggle, being codependent and a people pleaser. I struggled to say I'm at capacity, like, and I I have 4 kids. I have a husband. He owns a business. I own a business. Like, we don't have the capacity to support a ton of people outside of ourselves. And we have our small group of people, and this is something, him and I prioritize feeling peaceful and feeling connected. And so the people who are in our inner circle are like not our family members. They're our friends, and the babysitters and the teachers, because those are the people that align with our values.
Mm,
But it's super important that we don't, and we had to work on this. It took us, like, each of us, like, a year to work through not allowing our families to, like, rely on us for stuff. And it's
mm.
like, we had the most kids, and we owned a house, and we're like starting our own businesses. And so, like, his parents, my parents, like, they're relying on us, and we're like, it's hard to say no. It's hard to say no when you love people, and they love you, and people do just need help. And it's hard to say no. But for your own mental well-being, for your own success, and for your own purpose, you have to be the one. You have to be the referee of your own life, and sometimes
Yes.
that means saying nope, that one's out of bounds.
Yes. Well, and I just wanted to add that like like people also need to be needed. And so, like, find the people who are feeling lonely and who do need to be needed. And like, there are those people. Like, those people do
Yes.
exist,
Mhm.
and like,
Because
they
we're all
do.
in different phases of our
Hmm.
lives. And, I'm gonna be in a phase where my kids are off to college and they're off, and I'm empty nesting, and I'm gonna be desperate to wanna be supporting other people in those ways and helping them in those ways. And that'll be a different phase of my life. That's not where I am right now. But, everybody's got their seasons, and, it's
Yes.
okay to embrace whatever season you're in, and own it, and be okay with it, and say, no, I'm just not the one for everyone to come to right now. And I got young kids, they're 7 and under. It's, I'm just not the one right now.
Yes. Oh, this has been so beautiful. So tell us where we can find you on social media, on the internet. Where do you want us to reach out to if we want to find you?
Yeah. So my website is themiddaylatte.com. You can get on my email list there. And then my podcast is The Pursuit of You. And you can find me on all social media platforms at Joscelyn Kate.
I love it. So do you have any final like words of wisdom for us as we wrap up?
I would say, any time that you are struggling with setting boundaries with somebody else, or when you're struggling to say no, or when you're struggling to disconnect from that guilt and shame, this is what I say: you'll get it if you want to, and you'll care if you want to. And that allows the other person to consent to care. They get to choose to cooperate with you, and it just kind of unhooks that guilt and that shame.
I love it so much. Thank you so much for coming
Thank
on today. This
you.
has been so amazing. I feel like we just like grew all together and learned so
Thank
much.
you. It was so great. Thank you so much.
Yay, can we just all cheer for Jocelyn? I thought that was such an amazing interview. I loved talking to her and learning from her. And I feel like I'm just lifted from that conversation. Like, I feel like I'm a better human being after talking to her. So, here are my very favorite takeaways. Number one, we don't appreciate how much time it takes to regulate our nervous system and allow ourselves to feel safe in a new thing. It takes time. Number 2, when you are approaching something that is amazing, and when you're approaching something that is completely out of your comfort zone and completely brand new, you are going to feel the fight or flight. You're going to get the adrenaline. And if you let that deter you and send you in the other direction, you're not going to keep walking the road of the great thing, of what you're actually going to achieve. Number 3, we can look back on our stories and know that we were led here. It was a crazy journey, but we can see how all the pieces were perfectly put into place. And then we can take that same perspective when we look at our future. Number 4, we don't have control over everything and we don't get to have all the answers. But if we cooperate with hope and faith, we can keep walking those steps and seeing the breadcrumbs and taking the paths and trusting. We need to practice the surrender. Number 5, it's mind-blowing to realize that we don't see the whole picture. We tend to get really focused on what's happening right now. But if we could imagine how beautiful the whole story is going to be, we just can't see the next chapter yet. It hasn't been revealed yet. If we could just wait. Number 6, if we let the circumstances of our lives, control how we show up so often, we don't realize the power we have to show up anyway. Number 7, you have to be the referee of your own life. And sometimes that means saying, nope, that one's out of bounds. Oh, these are such great quotes. So much wisdom here. Make sure you go check out Joscelyn's website, themiddaylatte.com, or go follow her, or both, go follow her on social media at Joscelyn Kate. She's on Facebook and Instagram. You can also go check out her podcast, The Pursuit of You, on your favorite podcasting platform. And then also don't forget to check out my other podcast, Podcast Like a Mother, where you can learn all about how to create your own podcast, which I'm really, really passionate about. And while we're talking about that, there is a pre-sale going on now for the Podcast Like a Mother Masterclass, which is going to be so good. I mean, I'm literally going to teach you everything I know about podcasting, and there's a lot. There's a lot there. There's so much there. It's going to be 12 weeks of just amazing goodness. Just so much. And I'm just really excited for it. So go check out the pre-sale page. It will inspire you. And this is going to be the lowest price for that. And pretty soon I'm going to have the page up for the workshop. And that's going to be really amazing too. And then you can learn all about podcasting and how much your voice matters and how we need every voice to be sharing all the stories. We need all the stories. We need all the voices. So that's the other thing, is make sure you check out the Magic Mind link. Again, I went to this exact link and I ordered myself some more Magic Mind because I ran out, and I'm really excited for it to come in soon so I can get some more. If you liked those quotes, I make really gorgeous graphics with them. Like, they're really cool. They're really pretty, guys. And I share some of them on my Instagram and Facebook pages, but I don't share all of them. Like, really and truly, you only get to see all of them if you go sign up for the Snippet of Sunshine thing that's in my show notes, okay? If you go click on the link and you put your email in, then you get to see all of them, and you get one every day in your inbox. And it's just a little cute thing that you get, and it lifts your whole day and brings sunshine into your email. So that's fun. I also have the easy podcasting basics cheat sheet on there, and my website link. So that is all the things. And then I'm going to wrap up with a song, but this one is fun because I just finished writing it. It's a custom song for another podcast, and I'm just going to give her podcast a shout out right now. She's relaunching her show. It is called Ink and Pen Adventures. So go follow her show on Apple Podcasts and on Spotify and on all the places. And I'm going to have to go. I have lots of other people to give shout outs to. So if you have your song done by me, I need to give you a shout out. But I just finished this song. It's called Ready for an Adventure, and it's a really great one. And I think you're really gonna love it. It is definitely a little bit in contrast to the wintry weather we have going on out there. We have so much snow. We have so much snow that I think it was yesterday, my husband walked outside to go to work and he slipped in the snow and cut his finger on the ice that was on the ground, like gushing blood. Like, that's how snowy and icy it is. Like, I got in the car to take my daughter to school this morning and it was 17 degrees. So if you're like in sunny California and you're like, haha, it's 40 degrees or 60 degrees or even higher, like, yay you. Anyways, let's not talk about how jealous I am of that right now. I'm not super a big fan of the Utah weather. But this song is all about going on an adventure, and I think it's really fun. And you should go check out Lorianne's podcast, Ink and Pen Adventures. It's all about traveling, and she talks about Disneyland and travel tips and all sorts of cool stuff. So go check out her podcast, and I'll leave you with this awesome custom song. The reservations are made, anticipation is high. I overpacked once again, but I'll leave the stress behind. Well, is it time to go? I've checked the weather and GPS. Plants are watered and pets are safe. Now it's my turn to decompress. Yeah, I'm ready for an adventure. It's time to dive into mystery. Time to learn all that I can be. And you know I hear it calling me. I feel my soul is breaking free. I'm lit up with possibility. We're finally on the road. Baby, relax, it's time to breathe. Get in vacation mode. So glad you're here with me. We're gonna soak it all up. Try new activities. Now that I really see you, we're making memories. Yeah, I'm ready for an adventure. It's time to dive into mystery. Time to learn all that I can be. And you know I hear it calling me. I feel my soul is breaking free. I'm lit up with possibility. Put your phone down and be with me. See how incredible the world can be. Yeah, I'm ready for an adventure. It's time to dive into mystery.